7 Nightly News with Simone Semmons.
Its crushing win over Collingwood shows it's back in business. Good evening. Good evening. Other AFL winners today: Carlton, St Kilda, North Melbourne and Geelong. Track for yet another flag?
Yes, Simone, Hawthorn cemented its place on the ladder with its thrashing of Collingwood, and the 5 is finalised with 2 rounds remaining. In other matches, Geelong thrashed Richmond, Carlton upset Essendon, St Kilda snatched a win against Fitzroy, and North Melbourne ended Footscray's finals hopes. At VFL Park, the Hawks underlined they will again be a threat for the flag by humbling the Magpies by 83 points. The reigning Premier led at every change, and the star was Jason Dunstall, who booted 11 goals. Peter Landy reports.
Before a huge crowd, the Hawks got off to a flying start at VFL Park when Lawrence tapped onto Kennedy for the first goal. Terry Keys, who started on the bench, gave the Magpies some heart when he snapped a magnificent goal, though moments later. But it was Hawthorn's turn. A strong mark and goal to Dunstall, and then an even better snapshot by Morrissey gave the Hawks an 18-point lead at quarter time. The Hawks, however, suffered a bad blow early in the second when Dippy Domenico dislocated his shoulder, but they plugged on. Anderson brought the crowd to its feet with a brilliant running goal, but the Woods booted the last 2 of the quarter through Barwick and Brown to trail by 25 points at the change. Darren Mullane tried to unsettle Dunstall early in the third, but a 50-metre penalty resulted in his 4th goal. And that fired Hawthorn up even more. Hudson snapped another, and the Woods were looking ordinary. Platten burst out of a pack for 1 more, and their task was hopeless. A snap by the unusually quiet Peter Dacos made little difference to Magpie morale, and then Dunstall delivered the knockout blow. 4 goals in the last quarter made it 11 for the afternoon as the Hawks cruised to an 83-point win, their biggest over Collingwood for 14 years. Peter Landy, 7 Nightly News.
Bad news for Hawthorn was the report of Paul Cooper for allegedly striking Collingwood's Brian Taylor in the reserves match. Taylor, who booted 5 goals in the Magpies' 65-point victory, was left with a bad gash over his right eye after the incident in the second quarter. Cooper, who was dropped from the senior team this week, was reported by 2 umpires and will face the tribunal on Monday. Geelong's Gary Ablett gave the Tigers another horror afternoon by kicking 12 goals at the MCG. Ablett, who booted 14 against Richmond last year, was magnificent as the Cats bounced back from last week's shock loss to Brisbane to win by 64 points. At Princes Park, Carlton notched up its 2nd win over Essendon this season. Scores were close for most of the afternoon before the Blues piled on 6 goals in the last term to win by 20 points. Captain Kernahan kicked 7 for the winners. In a physically punishing opening, David Kernahan found himself fenced in, and several of his teammates were none too happy with his treatment. The Blues did all the attacking early, Stephen Kernahan outpointing Kevin Walsh at full forward. Carlton was displaying far greater commitment than the league leaders as Mark Majizak found a top ride on Paul Salmon. It required the talents of veteran Bill Duckworth to lift the Bombers, and 2 passages of play stood out. While the first deserved better, the second was rewarded. Essendon was making a contest of it, but Carlton still had the edge at the long break. 3 good grabs by Paul Salmon resulted in the Dons claiming the lead for the first time 10 minutes into the 3rd quarter, although it was short-lived. At 3/4 time, the match was still anyone's, but it was Carlton that finished the stronger, while Essendon looked to be running sore. Kernahan blitzed Walsh, and the Blues had beaten the Bombers for the 2nd time this year. Down at Moorabbin, St Kilda scored a last-gasp victory over Fitzroy. The Lions looked home when Wilden kicked his 7th goal with only minutes to go, but Lowe and Devonport replied to give the Saints a 1-point win. North Melbourne continued its recent great form by extinguishing Footscray's finals hopes at the Western Oval. The Bulldogs looked in good shape at half-time but couldn't match it with the Roos after the break. Longmire's 6 goals took him to 92 for the season. Sandy Roberts reports.
In perfect conditions at the Western Oval, North was looking to make it 11 wins from 13 contests. And things were looking good as they shot to an 11-point lead after rock gold. But Delray teamed well with Atkins for a Dogs major, and at the first change they trailed by 5 points. Then in a 7-minute period, Footscray exploded. 5 goals.
To McGuinness, who slams a goal. Cullen off the left. Great play.
3 of them from Brian Royal saw the Dogs surge to a 26-point lead. North got a badly needed one from Jose Romero late in the quarter, but at the main change, they trailed the Dogs by 22 points.
Yes, a goal to North.
The start of the third quarter was like the second, a goal blitz. But this time, it was the Roos.
Brett Allison, he sneaks it in.
After Allison kicked 2, Carey made it 3 in as many minutes. Longmire came into the game, and at the final change, the Roos led by 16 points. Although Kolyanook kicked the first goal in the final quarter, 10 points was the closest the Dogs got. Longmire finished with 6 to move to 92 for the season, and North ran out winners by 27 points.
The ladder now, and although the 5 is settled, the order could change with the pressure back on Essendon to hold top spot, with the finals just around the corner. In the VFA, Preston won its 9th game on the trot by beating Springvale by 53 points. Well, that's all the news from this afternoon's football. We'll have more sport after the break, including highlights from the Boomers' return clash with Brazil.
The 1990